In the dawn of the 1960s, America stood at the height of its confidence. The decade had not yet turned sour with conflict or doubt, and the country's automotive industry glowed with the same optimism that filled its chrome and tail fins. Among the giants of the road, few vehicles embodied prestige, opulence, and engineering audacity quite like the Chrysler Imperial of 1960. It was not merely a car, it was a rolling statement of class, excess, and power. The Imperial name had already been Chrysler's answer to Cadillac and Lincoln since the mid-1950s, but in 1960, the car transcended mere competition. It became a technological and aesthetic symbol of what it meant to be rich, confident, and sophisticated in the golden age of American luxury. The 1960 Imperial was born during an era when automobile design resembled architecture and sculpture more than transportation. The car was nearly 19 feet long, with proportions that challenged logic but celebrated grandeur. Every line was drawn with the intent to impress, to intimidate, and to symbolize success. Its dual headlights floated in chrome nacelles that looked like jewelry, its massive grille gleamed like a diamond-studded shield, and its tail fins, tapered and elegant, seemed to stretch endlessly toward the horizon. Those fins were not as exaggerated as in 1959, but they still whispered of flight, of rocket-age imagination, of a time when technology and luxury were one and the same. Under the long, imperious hood beat a 413 cubic-inch V8 engine, an immense power plant producing 350 horsepower and 470 lb-ft of torque. The engine was mated to Chrysler's TorqueFlite 3-speed automatic transmission, controlled by elegant push-buttons mounted on the dashboard. There was a sense of futuristic ease in the way the driver selected gears, not through a lever, but through fingertip control, as if commanding a machine built for royalty. The car glided forward with smoothness that seemed effortless, a floating sensation born of Chrysler's torsion bar front suspension and carefully engineered rear leaf springs. This suspension, a hallmark of Chrysler engineering, provided a balance between ride comfort and road control that even European marques admired. Stepping into the interior of the 1960 Imperial was an experience unlike entering an ordinary car. The door closed with a solid, ceremonial sound, sealing its passengers in a private world of elegance. The cabin was vast and deeply upholstered in the finest materials, broad expanses of leather, chrome trim, and rich fabrics that shimmered in soft light. The dashboard resembled the control panel of a luxury airliner, with symmetrical pods and instruments that glowed softly at night. Chrysler called it the Astrodome, a curved, transparent cluster illuminated in electroluminescent blue-green light. The speedometer floated inside a dome of glass, and the futuristic glow gave the impression of piloting something beyond a car, perhaps a vessel into the future itself. Luxury in the Imperial was not only seen but felt. Power steering and power brakes came standard, of course, but there were also electric window lifts, six-way power seats, automatic headlamp dimmers, and optional air conditioning with precisely directed vents. The seats were as wide as a living room sofa, the carpets thick as home rugs. Even the steering wheel was a work of design, a two-tone rim with a chrome horn ring and the Imperial Eagle emblem, an emblem that represented a sense of American nobility and mechanical power. The 1960 Imperial was offered in 3 series, the Custom, Crown, and Le Baron. Each step upward represented an increase not only in price but in craftsmanship. The Le Baron, in particular, stood as Chrysler's most exclusive and aristocratic automobile, intended for those who wanted a car to match the prestige of a mansion or a yacht. The Le Baron featured a longer rear deck, more intricate interior trim, and details that bordered on the obsessive. Every stitch, every panel, every curve was meant to whisper refinement. It was not built in mass production like a Dodge or Plymouth. It was assembled with the precision and pride of craftsmen who understood that they were building something symbolic, a piece of American art on wheels. The technical side of the Imperial's creation was as fascinating as its visual drama. Chrysler's engineering department, known for its obsession with innovation, gave the car a unibody construction known as the unit body in earlier models, but for the Imperial, they maintained a separate body-on-frame design. This decision was deliberate. The Imperial's frame was massive and rigid, providing unparalleled structural integrity and isolation from road noise. Chrysler engineers claimed it could withstand impacts that would crush lesser cars. It was this over-engineering, this desire to create not just a car but a fortress of luxury, that set the Imperial apart. Its braking system was equally advanced, with large-finned aluminum drums that dissipated heat efficiently, a feature borrowed from racing technology. The power-assisted steering system was light yet precise, making it possible to maneuver this near 6,000-pound behemoth with one hand. Despite its weight, the 1960 Imperial could accelerate from 0 to 60 miles per hour in under 10 seconds, a remarkable feat for such a vast and luxurious machine. It could cruise at highway speeds all day, with its engine humming quietly and effortlessly, as if unconcerned with the concept of strain. But perhaps the true genius of the 1960 Imperial was in the illusion it created. To its driver, it was both a personal sanctuary and a statement of success. It represented a level of refinement that was distinctly American, not restrained like British luxury, not cold like German precision, but warm, bold, and confident. It was a car built for a person who had achieved something and wanted the world to know it. The long hood and the soaring fins were declarations of victory in steel and chrome. Driving an Imperial meant being seen. It was as much a social instrument as it was a vehicle. Each exterior detail of the Imperial carried a certain symbolic power. The stand-up eagle hood ornament looked not unlike the crest of a Roman emperor, majestic, proud, slightly theatrical. The rear taillights, encased in chrome pods, resembled jet exhausts, linking the car to the imagery of the space race that defined American imagination at the time. The wide grille was both aggressive and elegant, filled with fine vertical bars that gleamed like jewelry under the sun. Even the side mirrors and door handles were sculpted rather than stamped, giving them a sense of permanence and artistry. The Imperial was a car that seemed to exist outside the ordinary rhythm of time. When parked beside a Cadillac or Lincoln, it appeared more dramatic, more daring, less predictable. Chrysler's designers under Virgil Exner followed what they called the forward look, a design philosophy that emphasized motion, sweep, and excitement. For the Imperial, Exner's vision reached a kind of sculptural perfection in 1960, a blend of futuristic confidence and refined restraint. The fins were lower, the proportions more balanced, yet the car still carried an unmistakable aura of dominance. It was a masterpiece of proportion and intent. Driving the Imperial was an experience that combined theater and tranquility. The big V8 produced a deep, distant rumble when idling, like the purring of a powerful animal. Press the accelerator, and the car responded with smooth, relentless thrust, its torque-flight transmission shifting seamlessly. On open roads, the Imperial floated like a ship on calm water. The steering isolated the driver from roughness yet transmitted just enough sense of control. The brakes, strong and predictable, brought the heavy car to a dignified stop. Everything about the Imperial seemed to conspire toward the feeling that its occupants were untouchable, cocooned from the turbulence of the outside world. For those who owned one, the Imperial became more than transportation, it was a lifestyle statement. It was parked in circular driveways of modernist mansions, beside marble columns and fountains. It carried its owners to galas, to country clubs, to business meetings where image mattered as much as achievement. To be seen in an Imperial was to project success without saying a word. It was not a car for the modest. It was for the confident, the accomplished, the proud. Yet beyond its ostentation, there was something deeply technical and serious about the Imperial. Chrysler's engineers were not content with mere glamour, they sought perfection in performance and safety. The car's frame, known internally as the X-Type, was engineered to reduce vibration and body flex. Its torsion bar front suspension allowed for precise adjustment of ride height and stability. Even the electrical system was advanced for its time, with aircraft-inspired wiring and sealed connections. The Imperial also offered features like automatic door locks and a power trunk release, luxuries that hinted at the coming age of electronic convenience. The assembly of each Imperial took place in Chrysler's exclusive Imperial division, where craftsmen gave attention to every inch of the car. Panels were hand-fitted, chrome polished by hand, interiors stitched with care. Quality control was intense, as Chrysler knew that the Imperial had to justify its price and prestige. While Cadillac may have sold more units, the Imperial's exclusivity was part of its charm. It was for the few, not the many. For those who wanted distinction rather than conformity. As 1960 unfolded, the Imperial became a rolling reflection of its era's contradictions. It was a product of American optimism, but also a monument to extravagance. It captured the idea that progress could be measured in inches of chrome and cubic inches of displacement. Yet beneath the flamboyance was genuine engineering mastery. The 1960 Imperial was not a fragile showpiece. It was a durable, high-performance machine that could endure long distances with the calm authority of a locomotive. Owners who drove it across states often marveled at how quietly it ran, how smoothly it accelerated, how it seemed to erase distance. The Imperial's presence was magnetic. When parked, people stopped and stared. The car had charisma, an almost human quality of command. Its sculpted sides caught the light in subtle waves, its glass surfaces reflected the sky, and the massive chrome bumpers gleamed like armor. It was both sculpture and machine, both personal and monumental. To sit behind its wheel was to feel like an emperor of the highway. By the close of 1960, Chrysler's Imperial stood as one of the last great expressions of pure American luxury untempered by practicality. The coming years would bring changes, safety regulations, fuel concerns, design restraint, but in that moment, the Imperial represented the peak of automotive indulgence. It was the culmination of an age when engineers and designers could dream without limits, when power and prestige were celebrated without apology. As the 1960s advanced, the Chrysler Imperial continued to embody the intersection of mechanical precision and aesthetic theater. The automobile was not merely a mode of transport, it was an expression of identity and ambition, a moving sculpture whose every inch carried the weight of craftsmanship and the spirit of post-war triumph. The owner of such a machine was not only driving through time and space but also through social strata, ascending, distinguished, and surrounded by the aura of exclusivity that the Imperial radiated effortlessly. Inside, the Imperial became more than comfort, it was serenity wrapped in steel. The silence within its cabin was engineered, not incidental. Chrysler engineers devoted thousands of hours to soundproofing, inserting insulation into doors, floors, and bulkheads, using specialized rubber mounts to isolate the body from engine and road vibrations. They knew that true luxury was not only about what one could see or touch but about what one could no longer hear, the absence of mechanical intrusion, the quiet authority of motion. When the Imperial glided down the boulevard, the world outside seemed to recede into another dimension. The hum of the engine was distant, the air through the vents was cool and evenly diffused, and the soft leather exuded a subtle scent of craftsmanship that bespoke refinement rather than ostentation. The dashboard instruments gleamed like jewels embedded within the Astrodome cluster. At night, their ethereal glow illuminated the cabin in turquoise light, evoking the calm of an ocean floor. Every gauge, every switch, was placed with intention, giving the driver a sense of commanding a finely tuned vessel rather than a mere automobile. The buttons for the TorqueFlite transmission engaged gears with gentle precision, a soft click that symbolized progress rather than effort. Passengers often found themselves whispering, as if not to disturb the quiet dignity of the Imperial's interior. In motion, the Imperial performed a kind of choreography between mass and grace. Despite its immense dimensions, nearly 230 inches in length and weighing over 5,000 pounds, the car responded fluidly to every steering input. Its torsion bar front suspension, coupled with long rear leaf springs, allowed it to float over imperfections while maintaining composure during high-speed travel. Chrysler's engineers often prided themselves on achieving European-like stability without sacrificing American softness. The wide track and long wheelbase contributed to a sense of steadiness that few cars of the era could equal. One could travel hundreds of miles on interstate highways without fatigue. The Imperial demanded little from its driver except appreciation. Acceleration was effortless, almost deceptive. The massive 413 cubic inch V8 delivered its torque in a smooth, continuous surge. The car did not leap forward but gathered velocity like an ocean liner gathering momentum, steady, unstoppable, dignified. At full throttle, a deep growl resonated through the exhaust, reminding the world that beneath its aristocratic calm lay the heart of a powerful machine. The TorqueFlite transmission shifted with fluid precision, its planetary gears engineered to perfection. It was not uncommon for owners to describe the experience of driving an Imperial as sailing, for the sensation was one of serene, powerful glide rather than mechanical motion. In the age of optimism and expansion, the Imperial became a kind of national ambassador for what American craftsmanship could achieve. While Cadillac had tradition and Lincoln had presidential prestige, Chrysler's Imperial offered something rarer, a combination of technical integrity and artistic daring. Virgil Exner's design vision gave the car emotional resonance. It was not simply luxurious, but dramatic, elegant, and bold. The Imperial was for the individual who appreciated engineering as much as status, for someone who wanted to be different rather than simply wealthy. The Imperial's clientele reflected that ethos. Business magnates, entertainers, diplomats, and even a few aristocrats found the car irresistible. They were drawn not only by its beauty but by its exclusivity. While Cadillac produced tens of thousands of vehicles annually, Imperial production numbers were comparatively small, often under 20,000 units per year. To own an Imperial was to possess something few others could. Each car was, in a sense, custom by nature, its interiors tailored, its exterior paint hand-polished, its details assembled with near-bespoke care. The Imperial's craftsmanship extended to the smallest elements. The door handles were thick, chrome-plated masterpieces that felt heavy and cool to the touch. The switches clicked with a satisfying precision. The seats could be adjusted in multiple directions with whisper-quiet motors. The steering wheel, massive yet elegant, rotated with minimal effort, the hydraulic power steering absorbing any resistance. The air conditioning system, advanced for its era, distributed cool air evenly throughout the cabin via discrete vents along the dash and rear package shelf, ensuring passengers remained perfectly comfortable even during the heat of summer. The Imperial's luxury was matched by its engineering seriousness. Chrysler's engineers viewed the car as a laboratory of innovation, where they could implement technologies that would later filter through the rest of the company's lineup. The 1960 model benefited from improvements in body rigidity, corrosion protection, and materials quality. Aluminum trim pieces were anodized for durability, the underbody coated against rust, and the entire electrical system designed to meet higher standards of reliability. Every element of the Imperial's structure communicated permanence. It was built not merely for years but for generations, a machine meant to endure. Even maintenance of the Imperial reflected this philosophy of excellence. Mechanics often remarked on the accessibility and logical arrangement of the car's mechanical systems. The engine bay, though enormous, was meticulously organized. The air cleaner, carburetor, and distributor were easily accessible. The engine itself, a masterpiece of Chrysler's engineering, featured hydraulic valve lifters and a robust forged crankshaft. Every detail spoke of durability and refinement. Owners who treated their Imperials well found that these cars could travel astonishing distances with minimal complaint, their V8 engines capable of running hundreds of thousands of miles with regular care. The driving experience of the Imperial was more than comfort, it was ceremony. The ignition key turned with a polished click, the starter motor engaged smoothly, and the great engine awoke with a subdued, authoritative purr. The driver adjusted the seat electrically, touched the transmission buttons, and with a whisper of throttle, the car began to move, almost silently at first, gathering speed with an inevitability that felt regal. On the open road, the world passed slowly, elegantly, through the wraparound windshield. The sensation was not of speed but of sovereignty. Those who owned a 1960 Imperial often remembered the feeling of control it inspired. The car's presence commanded respect, whether at a stoplight or gliding into a hotel entrance. Valets treated it with reverence, parking it in front as if it were a visiting dignitary. Its long, tapering fins and commanding grille gave it an aura of power and dignity unmatched by most automobiles of its time. It was impossible to ignore. The sense of privilege extended beyond the car's physical form. To be an Imperial owner in 1960 was to participate in an idea, the idea that technology and art could coexist in perfect harmony. The Imperial's blend of futuristic design and old-world craftsmanship was a mirror of its era's ambitions, to conquer the future without losing elegance. The United States was entering the space age, and the Imperial seemed to embody that transition, chrome and steel meeting imagination and optimism. Even decades later, the 1960 Imperial remains an artifact of that vision. Collectors regard it as one of the purest expressions of Virgil Exner's forward-look philosophy. Its proportions, its stance, its sculpted fins, all carry the spirit of a nation confident in its abilities and unafraid of extravagance. Restored examples reveal astonishing detail, the precision of chrome trim alignment, the texture of seat fabrics, the grace of the instrument cluster. No part of the car feels accidental, everything was shaped by intent and passion. The Imperial's reputation for durability has also contributed to its survival. Many cars of the era succumbed to rust or neglect, but the Imperial's heavy frame and quality materials helped preserve numerous examples. The thick chrome, high-quality steel, and robust engineering meant that even after years of use, these cars could be brought back to life with relative ease. Today, when an Imperial rolls down a modern street, it captures attention as effortlessly as it did in 1960. Its size, elegance, and presence seem almost supernatural compared to contemporary automobiles. What makes the 1960 Imperial extraordinary, even by today's standards, is how complete its vision was. It was not just luxurious, it was technically sophisticated, aesthetically daring, and emotionally evocative. Few cars have managed to merge these qualities so seamlessly. The Imperial offered its owners not only comfort and power but a sense of belonging to a world that celebrated excellence. It was, in many ways, an extension of the American dream itself, prosperity expressed through craftsmanship and design. Yet, the Imperial's greatness came at a price. It was expensive to build and costly to buy, and its exclusivity limited its sales compared to Cadillac. But that exclusivity only enhanced its mystique. The few who owned one were part of a quiet elite, content to let their car speak for them. They knew that luxury was not about numbers but about presence, and the Imperial's presence was absolute. When one studies the 1960 Imperial today, the experience is almost emotional. Its lines still evoke movement and grace, its interior still whispers of sophistication, and its mechanical components still impress with their precision. The car was built at a time when engineers and designers worked in harmony, when form and function danced together in a celebration of creativity. Every screw, every weld, every piece of chrome was placed by people who believed they were creating something important, something lasting. For those fortunate enough to own or drive one now, the Imperial offers more than nostalgia, it offers a connection to an age when automobiles were more than tools. They were expressions of human achievement, embodiments of beauty and progress. The 1960 Imperial, in particular, stands as one of the most powerful symbols of that era's belief in greatness. It was not restrained, it was not humble, it was magnificent. And in that magnificence lies its timeless charm. When the sun sets and light glints across its chrome surfaces, when the fins catch the glow of the horizon and the emblem on the hood reflects a golden spark, the Imperial becomes something transcendent. It reminds us of a moment in history when design was art, when technology was poetry, and when driving was not merely about reaching a destination but about experiencing elegance in motion. The Imperial is not only a car, it is a legacy. Its massive doors still close with the sound of confidence. Its engine still starts with dignity. Its ride still delivers the calm authority of engineering perfection. And for anyone who sits behind its wheel, even decades after its creation, there is the unmistakable feeling of command, of prestige, of being part of a tradition that will never return in the same way. The world has changed, but the spirit of the Imperial endures, a spirit born from ambition, beauty, and a relentless pursuit of excellence. In the 1960 Chrysler Imperial, America reached for perfection and came closer than it ever had before. It remains, to this day, a monument of what happens when art meets engineering, when power meets grace, and when luxury becomes an experience rather than an object. It is the car that made the road feel like a royal procession, the car that carried dreams as effortlessly as it carried people, and the car that proved that true luxury is not just owned, it is lived.